What about the couple in a marriage where one spouse is looking at it? Maybe perhaps with no remorse, or maybe he got caught or she got caught, and there's shame and guilt, and okay, I'll work on this fine. Like, how do you heal the wounds that porn creates in marriage? Because, I got a text recently from somebody who's counseling some couples in this area, and he said it just blows his mind how common it is that the guys are bringing this stuff into the bedroom and wanting to even watch it with the spouse, to try to get in an effort to get her more interested in him, or to get him more interested in her, of just like, hey, the flame's kind of going out, so let's bring this little spark in and let's see if we can rekindle something. Obviously there's so many different scenarios, but like, obviously it's toxic. It's cancer within marriage. It's infidelity in marriage. What do you say to perhaps to the spouse of the one who's into this stuff? Of like, how do you break through that? Like, no, like you can have your pixels or you can have your person, but you may not have both. How do you try to get through to a spouse hooked on this junk?
Yeah, the situation isn't too different than what we described of the person who's had a past and coming and is sharing it in the present with the person they want to marry. It's a present day betrayal, and there is real betrayal there, of a trust, and it's very similar. I worked for years with couples, both was one of the spouses had pornography use, or one or both of them had an adulterous relationship, and the effect is very similar. Uh, it's it's a trauma of betrayal, uh, and it is different. The situation you just laid out is different. If the spouse thinks it's okay and they go along with it, they don't necessarily feel betrayed. They feel more seduced. It's like a seduction into something, and then when they discover how much damage that's caused, then the betrayal happens afterwards. Whereas the spouse that just finds out that their spouse has been looking at pornography or engaging in fantasy masturbation, and it's a shock to them, then the betrayal is immediate. But in both cases, it's a betrayal wound. And Dr. Sam Fraser. Have you heard of Dr. Sam
I don't
Fraser?
believe so. Huh?
He talks about. I just ran across this not too long ago, but he talks about uh, four denials that are involved that have to be remedied for that to be healed. He says there's a denial of the facts. So the spouse who's confronted denies that there's anything, that they're doing anything, or they deny that there's any real problem with it. That, oh, this is fine. Yeah, I'm doing this, but this is fine. Or they deny personal responsibility. Well, I'm only doing that because you're not loving me well, or whatever. So they deny their personal responsibility. Or they deny the consequences. They deny that it's having any effect on themselves, on their relationship with God, on their spouse. And they said the final denial is a denial of hope. They deny that there's any possibility that anything can change. And he says both partners have all four of those denials that they have to work through. So the spouse who's on the receiving end of that betrayal needs to acknowledge that this is fact, this is happening. They need to get past the denial that it's happening and recognize that it's happening. They need to recognize that they're not to blame for it, that they may have responsibility for things in the relationship, but they're not the responsible one for their spouse being unfaithful. They need to look at the consequences in their own heart and in their marriage honestly and not deny it. This is really painful. I feel betrayed. I feel brought into something that feels impure to me. I feel like I can't trust you. I can't trust with you. And really deal with those things. And then in dealing with those things, having hope that things can be restored. And I have watched, when I was a therapist, I watched couples go through situations like that, and it's usually a 2-year hellish process. The one spouse says, well, I've asked for forgiveness, why don't you forgive me? And the spouse says, well, I have forgiven you, but we haven't dealt with any of the pain and the mistrust and the reconciliation that needs to happen here. That's what takes 2 years. Even if they come clean and take those 4 areas of responsibility, then the process of healing the trust. But I've watched over and over again couples come back after adultery or after pornography, and they've really worked through it together. They said our marriage is better than it ever was. We are grateful that we had to go through this. We actually know how to love each other. Before we were just lusting each other. We know how to love each other now. We've had to walk through the hard places and see the ugliness in ourselves and in each other and love each other for the beauty of who we are. And that's the hope.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that little clip, but if you want to see the whole episode where this came from, just click the link here. And in the meantime, we want to invite you to help us share this message, and there's a couple things you can do real quick. Number one, if you like or comment or share this video, YouTube will actually show it to more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We release videos every single day, and you'll be notified as soon as those come out. If you want to help us also to spread this message, you can support us at patreon.com/Jason Evert. That helps us to create these videos and show them to the whole world. God bless.